Gearheads and classic car enthusiasts, welcome back to the channel. If you're like me and remember when cars had real character, when chrome was king and horsepower was everything, then you're gonna love today's video. We're taking a trip back to the swinging 60s when Detroit was pumping out some of the most incredible machines ever to hit American roads. But here's the thing, there were options available back then that would blow your mind today. I'm talking about features that the government, insurance companies, or just plain common sense have made extinct. From factory-installed nitrous systems to ashtrays in every seat, we're covering the wild, the practical, and the downright dangerous options that made the 60s the golden age of American automotive success. So grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and let's fire up this time machine. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We've got some serious automotive nostalgia coming your way. Let's start with the big guns. The performance options that would give today's safety regulators nightmares. Back in the 60s, if you had the cash and the guts, Detroit would sell you a street-legal rocket ship, the L88 Corvette engine option. In 1967, Chevrolet offered the L88 427 big block in the Corvette. This wasn't just any 427. This was a race-bred monster that officially made 430 horsepower, but everyone knew it was putting out closer to 500 to 550 horses. The catch? It required 103-octane racing fuel, had no heater, no radio provision, and came with a warning that it wasn't suitable for street use. Yet somehow it was completely legal to drive to the grocery store. Factory drag pack options. Chrysler's Direct Connection program let you order what they called over-the-counter performance parts directly from the factory. We're talking about things like the 426 Hemi with factory-installed headers, lightweight body panels, and even nitrous oxide systems. Imagine walking into a Dodge dealer today and ordering a Challenger with a factory nitrous kit. The lawyers would have a field day. The Yenko Camaro and COPO options, Don Yenko figured out how to game GM's system by ordering Camaros through the Central Office Production Order COPO system, originally meant for fleet vehicles. He'd get them with the 427 L72 engine, the same motor that was too powerful for the Camaro according to GM's own rules. These cars were absolute monsters and completely street legal. Now let's talk about the creature comforts that made 60s cars feel like rolling living rooms. Features that seem almost quaint by today's standards. But man, they had style. Genuine ashtrays everywhere. Every 60s car came with real ashtrays. Not just one, but multiple ashtrays throughout the cabin. The front seats had pull-out ashtrays, the rear passengers had their own, and many cars even had ashtrays in the door panels. These weren't afterthoughts either. They were beautifully crafted pieces with chrome trim and spring-loaded mechanisms. Today, you're lucky if you can find a 12-volt outlet that isn't buried under a plastic cover. Cigarette lighters in every position. Speaking of smoking, most cars came with multiple cigarette lighters. The dashboard had the main one, but you could often option additional lighters for rear passengers. These weren't just functional, they were styled to match the interior trim and built to last decades. Swivel front seats Chrysler offered rotating front seats on several models, including the Imperial and some Plymouth Furies. These seats could swivel 90 degrees to face the rear, making it easier to get in and out or have a conversation with rear passengers. Try finding that option on a modern luxury car. Vacuum-operated accessories. Before electric everything, cars used engine vacuum to power accessories. You could get vacuum-operated windshield wipers, which slowed down when you accelerated, vacuum door locks, and even vacuum-operated headlight covers on cars like the Corvette. It was ingenious engineering that's been completely replaced by electric motors. Here's where things get interesting. And by interesting, I mean terrifying by today's standards. The 60s were a different time when personal responsibility meant something. And if you wanted to do something stupid in your car, well, that was your business. No mandatory seatbelts. Until 1968, hard to believe, but seatbelts weren't even required equipment until 1968. And even then, they were just simple lap belts. Before that, seatbelts were often an extra cost option. Many guys considered them unmanly or figured they were good enough drivers that they didn't need them. Metal dashboards with no padding. Those beautiful chrome-laden dashboards were essentially weapon arrays waiting to happen. No padding, no energy absorption, just solid metal and sharp edges. The steering wheels were often just a thin metal rim with a chrome horn ring that could take your head clean off in an accident. No side impact protection door frames were thin, and there was virtually no side impact protection. The doors themselves were often just thin metal with a simple latch mechanism. No reinforcement beams, no crumple zones. If something hit you from the side, you were relying on luck and the good Lord. Fuel tanks in dangerous locations. Many cars had fuel tanks mounted behind the rear axle or in other vulnerable positions. The Ford Pinto wasn't the only car with questionable fuel tank placement. It was just the one that got the most attention. In the 60s, nobody was thinking about what happened to that gas tank in a rear-end collision. The 60s were all about standing out from the crowd, and the factory option lists reflected that philosophy. You could personalize your ride in ways that would make today's custom shops jealous. Continental kits nothing, said luxury like a Continental kit. That spare tire mounted on the back of the car. Lincoln started the trend, but you could get Continental kits on everything from Thunderbirds to Cadillacs. These weren't just functional, they were style statements that added several feet to your car's length and made parking a real adventure. Vinyl roofs in every color. Vinyl tops weren't just black or white. You could get them in colors that matched or contrasted with your paint. Green vinyl on a green car, white vinyl on a red car. Even wild patterns were available from some manufacturers. Sure, they trapped moisture and rusted out the roof, but they looked fantastic when they were new. Fender skirts, rear fender skirts were available on many models, covering the rear wheels for a smooth, streamlined look. They were particularly popular on luxury cars and gave vehicles a custom, lowrider appearance straight from the factory. Changing a rear tire was a nightmare, but style trumped practicality. Wire wheel covers and spinner hubcaps. Before alloy wheels became common, you could dress up your car with elaborate wheel covers. Wire wheel covers that looked like real wire wheels, spinner hubcaps that kept rotating after you stopped, and intricate designs that were works of art. Some of these wheel covers cost more than entire wheel and tire packages today. Factory two-tone paint. Two-tone paint jobs were available on many models, with the dividing line often following the car's natural body lines. You could get wild combinations, think turquoise and white, or red and black. The paintwork was done at the factory with the same quality as single-color jobs. The heart of any 60s muscle car was under the hood, and the options available were simply incredible. This was before emissions regulations, before fuel economy standards, and before lawyers got involved in engine design. Multiple carburetor setups. You could order cars with dual quad carburetors, tri-power setups, 3 two-barrel carbs, and even 6-pack configurations, 3 two-barrels on Mopar products. The Pontiac GTO's tri-power setup was legendary, smooth as silk at idle, but when you opened those secondaries, it was like unleashing hell. Solid lifter cam options. Many high-performance engines came with solid lifter camshafts that required regular valve adjustments, but provided incredible performance. These cams had aggressive profiles that made the engines sound like race cars at idle. You knew a solid lifter car was coming from 3 blocks away. Close ratio 4-speed transmissions. The Muncie M22 Rock Crusher 4-speed was available in many GM muscle cars. It got its nickname from the straight-cut gears that made a distinctive whining sound, but it could handle massive amounts of torque. Shifting one of these transmissions was like operating heavy machinery. It required strength and skill. Factory limited slip differentials. Posy traction, sure grip, traction lock. Every manufacturer had their version of limited slip differentials available as options. These weren't the sophisticated electronic systems we have today, but they worked. Nothing said muscle car like the ability to light up both rear tires simultaneously. Ram air and cold air. Induction Pontiac's ram air systems, Chrysler's air grabber hoods, and Chevrolet's cowl induction hoods were all available factory options. These systems actually worked, feeding cooler, denser air to the engine for more power. Plus, they looked absolutely menacing. While we think of modern cars as being high-tech, many luxury features we consider cutting-edge today were actually available in the 1960s. They just worked differently. Factory air conditioning systems air conditioning was available on many cars by the mid-60s, but these systems were massive. The evaporator often took up half the trunk, and the compressor was driven directly off the engine with no clutch. When the AC was on, you could feel the power loss, but man, it would freeze you out on a hot summer day. Automatic headlight dimmers Cadillac offered Twilight Sentinel, automatic headlights, and Autronic Eye automatic high beam, dimming as early as 1964. The system used a photocell on the dashboard to detect oncoming headlights and automatically dim the high beams. It worked surprisingly well for 1960s technology. Power everything. Power windows, power seats, power steering, power brakes. If it could be motorized, Detroit offered it as an option. The power seat controls were often elaborate affairs with multiple switches for different adjustments. Some luxury cars even had power vent windows and power antenna systems. Cruise Control Chrysler introduced autopilot cruise control in 1958, and by the 60s it was available across many model lines. The early systems used vacuum and mechanical linkages rather than electronics, but they worked remarkably well. There's something satisfying about the mechanical engagement of those old cruise control systems. AM/FM stereo with reverb high-end audio systems were available with AM/FM stereo capability and even built-in reverb effects. Some systems had separate amplifiers and multiple speakers throughout the cabin. The sound quality was actually quite good, especially considering the technology limitations of the era. Finally, let's talk about the options that were so bizarre, so impractical, or so dangerous that you wonder what the engineers were thinking. These are the features that perfectly capture the experimental spirit of the 60s. Record players in cars. Chrysler actually offered a highway hi-fi record player option in the late 50s and early 60s. It played special 7-inch records at 16 2/3 RPM and was mounted under the dashboard. The system was designed to handle road vibrations, but hitting a pothole could still make your music skip. Imagine trying to change records while driving down the interstate. Swamp coolers. Instead of AC, before air conditioning became common, some manufacturers offered evaporative coolers or swamp coolers as options. These systems used water evaporation to cool the air, and they only worked in dry climates. They were basically primitive air conditioning systems that made your car smell like a wet basement. Factory compass and altimeter. Some luxury cars offered dashboard-mounted compasses and even altimeters. The compass was actually useful for navigation in the pre-GPS era, but the altimeter was purely for novelty. Nothing said, "I've got money to burn," like knowing you were driving at 5,280 feet above sea level. Tissue dispensers. Several manufacturers offered built-in tissue dispensers as luxury options. These were usually mounted on the back of the front seats or in the rear door panels. They were beautifully crafted with chrome trim and spring-loaded mechanisms, but they were essentially expensive Kleenex holders. Factory CB radio prep. As CB radios became popular in the late 60s, some manufacturers offered CB prep packages that included antenna mounting points, wiring harnesses, and dashboard cutouts for radio installation. This was before CB radios were mainstream, so it was really for the early adopters and truckers. And there you have it, folks. A trip through the wild world of 1960s automotive options that you'll never see again. From factory nitrous systems to built-in record players, the 60s were truly the golden age of automotive excess and innovation. Looking back, it's amazing how much freedom manufacturers and buyers had back then. Sure, some of these options were dangerous, impractical, or just plain weird, but they represented a time when cars had personality and individuality was celebrated. Today's cars are undoubtedly safer, more reliable, and more efficient. But sometimes I miss the days when you could walk into a dealership and order a car that was truly unique. When chrome was king, horsepower was everything. And if you wanted to do something crazy with your car, Detroit was happy to help you do it. What's your favorite extinct automotive option from the 60s? Drop a comment below and let me know what you miss most about the good old days. And if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We've got plenty more automotive nostalgia coming your way. Until next time, keep those classic cars running and those memories alive. Thanks for watching.